the Zionist movement, in this, it was different in a way from the other settler colonial movement, really aspired to build also a democratic state, not just a Jewish state, but he wanted the demography to help this democracy to be entirely Jewish. So actually, not just in the name of the kind of ruthless settler colonial motive to get rid of local people, but also in the name of a noble idea such as democracy, they thought they had the right to remove the Palestinians so that they would have an absolute Jewish majority once the state is established, and therefore it could be democratic. The problem for them was that the demographic balance was against them. The Jewish population, on the day that the partition resolution was adopted by the United Nations, November 1947, was less than 1/3 of the population. Less than 1/3. Most of them, by the way, people who came 2 or 3 years before. People ask, why didn't the Palestinians accept the partition resolution? It was a mistake. How could they accept the idea of giving more than half of their homeland to 1/3 of the population, most of which were settlers who arrived few years earlier, not to mention the fact that there were already, by 1947, and that was too late, some Palestinian leaders who understood actually that these were not just poor Jewish refugees who were looking for a safe haven in Palestine, but that they came with the purpose of making Palestine a Jewish state. So it's not surprising that the Palestinians rejected the idea of partition, but the international community at the time, represented by the United Nations, did not include almost any of the colonized world. So it was mainly a global North kind of institution that was anyway Islamophobic and Arabophobic, and therefore did not regard the Palestinians as people with any rights. And those who were a bit more knowledgeable about the demographic situation and even about the danger that the creation of the Jewish state would come with the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians, regarded it as, in the words of one of these diplomats, Western diplomats, as kind of tolerating a small injustice in order to rectify a bigger injustice. The bigger injustice, of course, had nothing to do with the Palestinian. That was the genocide of the Jews in Europe. So that was the background, actually, for how it eventually evolved. But yes, one should say, especially from the 1930s onwards, although even before that, the Zionist leadership prepared for that moment and was determined that in order to create a Jewish state, it will have to remove by force as many Palestinians as possible. And the moment the mandate ended, even before it ended, as I show in my book, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, few months before the mandate ended, they understood that the British were not interested anymore in law and order or in anything that was happening in Palestine, but only how to withdraw safely to London. They started the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. And eventually this continued for about a year until the end of 1948. Really a ruthless, massive uprooting of the Palestinians from their towns and villages. And that's how so many Palestinians became refugees by the end of 1948.